Some use tomatoes and others use thumbs. We use the stuff that gets you drunk. And what we are lacking in Josh today, we will make up for with enthusiasm and vigor. As you guys can see, and as I just alluded to, Josh is gone today. So just a quick review of our rating system, because we are a little bit different and we try to have a little bit more fun and be more realistic with how we rate movies. We use a popcorn and beers rating system. One popcorn is the lowest rating. Sometimes you will hear us say, this movie was so bad, I don't even want to give it a popcorn until it gets a kernel. That means do not watch it. And then it goes up from there to a popcorn and a beer, a popcorn and 2 beers, and the coveted spot, the popcorn and 3 beers. Today we've got 2 butter on tops because Jordan decided he was still on a Will Smith strike because he just can't let shit go. But I went ahead and I watched it. Jordan watched The Watchers, so Jordan will go next. As far as our butter on top goes, I think it might be the movie of the summer this year, because we've seen a lot of movies bomb thus far. We've seen, I know. I'm pretty sure about it, though, because we saw Furiosa bomb at the box office, Fall Guy bomb at the box office.
You're talking box office wise,
yeah.
But...
Yeah, I think, I'm not saying I thought Fall Guy was a better movie, but here's the thing. This was not a bad movie at all. It was good. Dialogue is not great. Dialogue is going for a much younger audience than myself. I wish it was trying harder to appeal to me, because I grew up with the Bad Boys series. I've been there for the whole thing, and this is bordering on Bad Boys Fast and the Furious 11. It has a lot of Fast and the Furious to it, and it has a lot of corniness to it, like some dad jokes, but a lot of high school teenage style jokes that are kind of funny. Some of it is missed, but at the end of the day, they're able to wrap it all up and put a bow on it that works. There is a U.S. Marshal that is the old Captain Joe Pantaleone, or how do you say his name? Joe Pantaleones? Joe Pantalones?
Yeah.
Joe Pantaleone? How do you say his name? From the captain for Bad Boys 1, Bad Boys 2, and Bad Boys 3. If you could figure out how to say his name phonetically for me, that would be fantastic. I couldn't even say phonetically there, so now I'm not going to give myself too much of a hard time. Anyway, the U.S. Marshal that plays, the actress that plays the U.S. Marshal that is his daughter in the film was just god-awful. Like, honestly, the movie would be so much better if you just cut her part out completely.
Pantaleano?
Pantaleano. There we go. Tango El Gato in Los Pantalones.
There you go.
But if they just cut her out completely and just let her daughter was better than her, and you'll not frequently hear me say that, but the actress playing her daughter, significantly better. The storyline with the daughter, significantly better. So it would be the captain's granddaughter. But with her, are
we talking Vanessa Hudgens?
No, Vanessa Hudgens was great, actually.
Oh,
we're talking
I'm sure she was.
The Breathe High School Musical. All right. Now, I don't even think she was in High School Musical, was she?
Yes,
she was. She was. So I got that one right. Okay.
Yeah.
Journey to the Center, though, for sure. But gosh, now you're gonna make me look up who the actress is. So I'll pull it up. But essentially, the actress that played the U.S. Marshal that was the captain's daughter was really, really, really bad in this movie. Like, overacting terribly.
Blonde
almost
lady?
Like, what's that?
White blonde lady?
Yeah.
Rhea Seehorn.
Yeah, Rhea Seehorn. That's who it was. Thank you. Who's great in Better Call Saul. But Rhea Seehorn in this was so bad. So bad. So terribly bad. So trash. She was bad. She was really bad. And I wish they just cut all of her scenes out of the movie. I don't know if it was her or the dialogue they gave her or just the direction she had. But golly, it was like watching These Are the Days of Our Lives every time she was on screen. She was just laughably terrible with so many lines and so many directions that she went with her character. It was bad, like real bad. If you cut her out, though, completely, movie's really good. Movie's entertaining. It was fun. The Will Smith and his son storyline from Bad Boys 3 tie-in worked out really well, so they don't stray too far away from the actual core material of Bad Boys. And I would say I gave this a popcorn and one, but it's a fun popcorn and one. A lot of people more people than not, are gonna enjoy themselves at the movie theater for this movie. Will Smith does, spoiler alert, get slapped multiple times by Martin Lawrence to get some sense knocked into him. Yes, and it's hard too, and it's funny, and they play with it. So Jordan asked for self-awareness, and he got it in Bad Boys Ride or Die. Again, I'm not going to say it's an amazing movie. It's not world-breaking, but it was very entertaining. I went into it with very low expectations, and my expectations were definitely met. So good job, Will Smith. Good job, Martin Lawrence. And good job, Jerry Bruckheimer. Popcorn and one for Bad Boys Ride or Die. Jordan, tell us about the Watchers.
Well, let me just say, I didn't see Bad Boys 3. This was 4, right?
4.
I didn't see Bad Boys 3. I didn't want to see Bad Boys 4 the Will Smith strike. But maybe I'll come back for Bad Boys in Space. So we'll see.
I'm telling you, they went for it. They went for that Fast and the Furious style movie.
Yeah. No thanks. So I watched The Watchers. I went rogue, and I thought I was seeing an M. Night Shyamalan movie. Turns out it was directed by his daughter.
Psych.
Yeah, totally fine. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find her name. I think it's Ishana Night Shyamalan.
Ishana Night Shyamalan.
Ishana Night Shyamalan. Yes, that is correct. Wanted to give her a shout out. This was her debut big feature film, and it was not good. M. Night Shyamalan burst onto the scene with Signs, and that was really...
Was it Signs? Or was it The Sixth Sense? Or was it...
was The Sixth Sense on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, or how about not Mr. Glass, but the prequel to Mr. Glass? What was that again? With Bruce Willis?
Yeah. Well, okay. Signs was the first time I heard of him. So he burst onto...
That's more fair.
He burst onto
The Sixth Sense was his coming out party. But I think that the movie with Bruce Willis was prior... Why can't I think of the name of this movie? Invincible, right?
Invincible,
That's the name of it?
Yeah.
It was prior to The Sixth Sense.
Unbreakable.
Unbreakable.
Yeah.
Yes. Prior to... Was that prior to The Sixth Sense or after The Sixth Sense?
I don't know.
But it definitely wasn't as big as The Sixth Sense. The Sixth Sense was like, ooh, this guy's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so...
And then it was all downhill from there.
He had a very long string of just... duds.
Yeah, and then he tried to make a comeback with Split, and then he did a bad job with Mr. Glass.
Yeah.
Every time he has a chance to get back on top. Actually, Cabin in the Woods was good. I'm sorry.
Cabin in the Woods was good.
I'll fight people over this. Cabin in the Woods was a good movie.
Is that his? You mean Knock at the Cabin?
Yeah, Knock at the Cabin. Sorry.
Both good movies. You're right. Cabin in the Woods is a good movie too. But anyways, this was not a good movie. It had... The bare bones of the premise was enough to draw me to it, like an M. Night Shyamalan movie does. It always the preview always looks so good for an M. Night Shyamalan movie.
They give you just enough.
Yeah, and it's just very typical in that family style. It's
you are the fish that bites the first worm.
Yeah. A humanoid creature that you don't really get a look at for way too long into the movie. This one actually does give you that satisfaction. You do get a good amount of face time with the creatures. The acting is not good. There's this guy. Everybody in the movie just has kind of psycho face. Dakota Fanning kind of just has it. I love Dakota Fanning. Honestly.
Is it Dakota or Elle?
It's Dakota.
Okay.
I like Dakota Fanning in her grown-up roles that she's taken on. She was in a show called The Alienist on TBS, which was fantastic. Loved that show. But she just has a problem emoting. She does not emote ever. Her face, her line delivery it's just...
it worked for Twilight.
Yeah, right. There's just a lot in this movie that doesn't... It doesn't need to be explained. They over-explain things a little too much, which is something maybe she tried to learn from her dad's mistakes.
Okay.
She tries to really give you spoon feed you a little bit too much to where it kind of takes away the mystery of the creatures and whatnot and makes it less scary.
Maybe that's the
Um,
Gen Z in her.
yeah, and there's things that need to be explained that aren't like. Eh, it was just too much. It wasn't even laughably like entertainingly bad. It was like, oh god, really? Is this where they went with it? There's a change of setting. Like the movie's taking place
Okay.
in these cursed woods, and it's a good setting for this. And then they like move it to a couple different locations. That was just super necessary because it takes
Mm-hmm.
away the one thing that's really working for this movie.
Okay.
The ending is just all time bad. There's no twist. It's straightforward.
It's just bad.
Yeah,
It's
it's
just bad.
actually no. There's a twist, but it's not like it's kind of you can see it coming about a quarter of the way into the movie. You're like, okay, I see the twist coming, and it happens, and it still does. It just doesn't land. It's bad. Just bad movie. I give this a popcorn.
A popcorn. All right. Well,
Yeah,
let's move on to your drunk classic, The Wackness, starring Ben Kingsley. And who's the young
J-
actor in this? I know him.
Josh
He's been in
Peck.
a lot of other things,
Josh Peck
but
of
I
Drake
can't
and
think of his
Josh.
name.
It's Josh
Josh
Peck of Drake
Peck.
and Josh. Yeah.
That's right. So playing the I don't know, the drug dealer that's so filled with innocence, and you see that throughout the movie, right? So Jordan, talk to us a little bit about why you chose this and what you thought the second go around. Drug dealer with a conscience.
Well, it's not a very good movie. It's very wandering. It doesn't really have a solid plot. It's just this whiny
Mm-hmm.
uh young adult that he's just looking to, have some intimacy issues, he wants a girlfriend, he's trying to figure himself out. His parents are a mess. It's very just mid 90s.
Yeah,
Um
it
it's
is very mid '90s. It's also, I don't know. You feel bad for him a lot, like
yeah, yeah.
pump up yourself style, right?
Yeah, you're rooting for him. You're kind of frustrated by him at times. Kind of every character you kind of get that, like Ben Kingsley, you're kind of like, oh man, seems like the coolest guy. Like I want to hang out with this guy. He seems like a lot of fun. And a lot of times you're like, this guy is annoying, and he says like, yeah, I'm immature. People say that I'm immature all the time, but it's like, yeah, dude, come on, get your shit together. You're really annoying. This movie is just it's obvious that this movie was a clear attempt for Josh Peck to break away from his Nickelodeon image. Like it almost seems like this movie was made specifically for his image, for
You
him to
think?
start getting some like serious acting roles, which worked for a while, but he kind of has faded into obscurity now.
You don't think he comes across as kind of lame?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, is it his character though? Because his character is kind of lame. He's like supposed to be like the cool. He says the coolest of the unpopular, or the most unpopular of the cool.
Yeah.
It's very Catcher in the Rye, kind of hip hop Catcher in the Rye. Like he's walking
It's
around.
not what you described when you introduced us to this. I
What
was
did I?
fully expecting him to want to be a rapper at some
No,
point in
no,
the film, and
no.
I'd never seen this one before. And I was
Yeah,
just like, no, he's just kind of into music. He's not even very into music, and it doesn't even go too deep down that rabbit hole.
yeah, it
Like the
does.
no, we get one scene where he's like, I still listen to cassettes,
And he's
and I
like
was
making
like,
mixtapes for everybody, and then he gets introduced to Biggie Smalls, and then yeah,
does he introduces people to Biggie Smalls?
he gets introduced by Method Man, the drug dealer guy, and he's like, "What's this, man?" He's like,
I
"Biggie."
guess that's fair. He does say "What's this?" when he's talking to
Yeah,
Method Man, and Method Man with his terrible Jamaican accent.
yeah, and
Method Man's come a long way too, by the way, as an
oh
actor.
yeah, the soundtrack is great. It actually introduced me to a lot of like old hip hop stuff. Like I think this was the first time
Tribe
I
Called
heard.
Quest.
Yeah, this was the first time I heard "Can I Kick It." This is the first time I heard "All the Young Dudes" by Mott the Hoople. At the
Can I
ending,
Kick It also in one of our Butter on Tops this year?
it was. That's
Yeah,
right.
Ninja Turtles.
That's right. Yeah. I love that. It's all-time great song.
It is also great to throw into movies.
Yeah, that boom, boom, boom. Yeah, that just it fits any setting.
Yeah.
It's great. I like how throughout the movie how it's New York mid-90s. They're constantly crapping on Rudy Giuliani. Like, oh God, Giuliani, because
That is
whatever.
true.
And I'm like, boy, if they could only see him now.
He's come a long way too.
He's come a long way. We and I love this scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. We've all had that. You're getting the girl. There's that growing attraction, romance, and he's walking away after dropping her off at home, and he's dancing on the sidewalk, and they do some effects. The sidewalk is lighting up like Michael Jackson style.
Yeah, Chris Brown forever, Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
Lots of people have used that.
Super relatable. I like that. I give this movie a popcorn and 1.
Popcorn and 1 for your revisit of the
It's
Wackness.
funny. We got Mary-Kate Ashley. Some
you don't
faces.
get both of them. You get one of them.
Oh, I thought that was her name, Mary-Kate Ashley.
No, Mary-Kate and Ashley.
Oh.
I don't know which one this was, though, because they're twins.
Right.
But that scene where she gets into the phone booth with Ben Kingsley was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Right? And then he's total CB in him. Like, wow. Like, let the old man have his... Do you know what I mean by that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are you doing that to that old man? Like, look at that old man. He's spitting game. That game was fire, and you're just interrupting this guy. You're just throwing salt all over that phone booth right now.
Right.
I thought that was good. It is the coming of age story of a drug dealer. There's a super awkward masturbation scene that goes on for way too long.
Yeah.
Way too long. Like, I got the gist of it. Like, I'd seen enough. Like, I knew what was happening. And that scene, it's not funny. It's not, like, integral to the storyline. It is just weird and awkward and jammed in there. And I was like, I don't know what's happening here. Yeah. Whiskey in a juice box is such a teenager drink is what came to my mind in that scene. I was like, well, do you have anything that I can mix with it? And she said, I have juice boxes. I was like, that sounds like something an 18 to 19-year-old would do.
Yeah, hey.
Is like mix a juice box with whiskey. Probably expensive whiskey, too, judging by the fact that they're in a doctor's house or doctor's,
beach house.
Don't ever trust anyone that doesn't like dogs. That was a great scene on the beach when he's telling the main character who he should not trust or the people that he should look out for in life or run the other direction. And the very last one is never trust somebody that doesn't like dogs.
Yeah.
And there are some redeemable scenes, but overall it's not a great movie. It's really hard to get into, to be honest.
Yeah.
They're playing with too many themes, trying to be too deep at too many points in this movie. And the best scene is the end when he's getting into the elevator and she's trying to explain herself to him because she's just like not a good person that's been toying with him the whole time. And she knows she's toying with him. And honestly, like, let's all talk about how she trades him in for a lower end model. That was also weird. She trades down.
She dogs him.
Maybe that's a self-destructive tendency that she has. I know that's very realistic, but the verbiage used or the dialogue used was just stop, just don't say anything. I need to remember this moment. I want to take a mental picture. And he goes, I've never been through this before. She says, been through what? And he said, having my heart broken. And I was like, you know what? That was fantastic. Because everybody remembers their first heartbreak. It's weird that you had it right before you go off to college, but I suppose it's a coming of age story. So I would give this one a popcorn. Probably won't ever watch it again unless you force me to. But a popcorn.
Fair.
Let's mix it up with what we were watching this week. I'm going to go ahead and start, and then we'll go bingo, bongo, bango. I watched Next Goal Wins, and I'll be quick here because this is one you've already seen. And you painted the picture of it being a very happy, feel-good movie, and I agree totally. Going through the stages of grief was so good at the beginning of the movie when he's going through the stages of grief and he's clicking each one, and Will Arnett is like narrating it. And he goes, "Oh, acceptance, very good. You made it there fast." That is fantastic. the high speed police chase at 35 miles per hour on America Samoa was very funny. And he's like hammered as he's driving down the street at, what was he going, like 40 miles per hour? No, he's going 35. Sorry, pardon me. He's going 35, and he's like, "We got one that's flying today, ma." that made me laugh. But they play with again themes, but they do it very creatively, and they do it in a way that does not turn off the audience, in my opinion. So it didn't get great reviews. It's Taika. Taika, I think, is always good, and I think Taika very much goes for an acceptance angle in his movies. Like, what does it really matter that somebody's a certain way or that somebody's different? We should accept people for who they are, and the explanation of how they accept the transgender person on the football team was very good. Mm-hmm. From the first coach that got fired for being too nice or too calm. So I gave this one a popcorn and 1. Jordan, what's your first movie?
My first movie, so I watched Godzilla -1. I told you last week when you reviewed it, I was going to run and watch this as soon as I possibly could, and that's exactly what I did. I watched it that evening. The effects are credible. I like the laser beam. I've heard the laser beam has gotten some flack online. I don't know what that is. I didn't dig into it, but, people are going to be...
HDMI cable.
People are going to, complain no matter what. The Godzilla... nerd, the deep hardcore Godzilla nerds are really,
yeah, hardcore Godzillites.
Yeah, they're gonna complain no matter what.
In 1965, it was so much more real.
Yeah, yeah. It has historical value actually to it, like this movie. Like it does touch on some things, like some aspects of.
I figured you would really enjoy
Japan's
that piece
perspective
in was the World War II portion.
Yeah, it does have some real things that it kind of touches on. At times, the score is a bit much for me throughout the movie. But it does have that classic Godzilla, which I always kept thinking that it was going to be that Pharaoh Monch song, if you know what I'm talking about, the rap song. Bum, 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 bum.
Yeah.
Bum, 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 bum. Yeah, the whole time I'm waiting for that to start, I'm like, and kind of gets let down when it doesn't. This movie feels much longer than it is. It could have used a little bit more Godzilla.
Less love story, right?
Less love story.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Am I allowed to say?
We don't always need a love story. I'm sorry. Like, I'm just going to keep saying that until people listen. Not every film requires a love story. And what are you asking if you're allowed to say?
Godzilla looks great. Am I allowed to say that Godzilla has a fupa in this movie?
I think that's fine. I think not everyone knows that acronym, so everybody's going to get out their urban dictionaries.
Okay. Yeah, Godzilla has a bit of a pooch. We'll say that.
A little pooch pouch.
Yeah. I give this a popcorn and 2. I liked it.
Okay. Yeah, I liked it too. You could see why it won the Oscar for Best Effects.
Yeah, even with, actually it was dubbed over, so it was definitely something I put on and I was doing some other things in the background. Like I could 3/4 pay attention to it and still got the gist of the movie, and it was good.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't mind it at all. Just stop inserting love stories. Stop inserting themes. So you guys have heard me say this about like trying to get groups of people put into movies, and it's forced and it's almost disrespectful to those groups of people. Stop forcing it. If it starts to appear or feel forced, it's not necessary to the storyline, and it's okay. Now, if you can write it properly, put it in there, make it look good. Taika did a great job with Next Goal Wins. Like, there is a way to do these things. The love story in The Wackness is actually pretty decent. It's not jammed in there. It's integral to the story. It is how he is framed up as maturing in The Wackness is through this woman and through this doctor at the same time. So, yeah, I don't need it forced. Write it well. Write the love story well. If there's going to be a love story, write it well.
Yeah.
I watched Doom Patrol Season 4. The last season took me forever to get to it, and I am so sorry. Just, there's so many things going on in life, what, in the words of Tom Brady, I'm almost 40. I got a lot of shit going on. But with Doom Patrol Season 4, gosh, it's the best comic book show maybe ever. It's way better than anything Disney's produced so far. They've tried. Disney's gotten close with a couple, right? Moon Knight had its moments. Loki's great. It's right up there with Loki, I would say. Is
Okay.
Doom Patrol, and it's 4
Okay.
seasons, and they end the season just right. In this season, they're taking on Immortus, the demigod who controls time, and the zombie butts. And Doom Patrol, it does a great job of creating so many different types of characters, so many different types of lifestyles are encompassed within this show, and it's got a ton of actors that you love and you want to hear from, or that you grew up watching. The likes of Brandon Fraser, and he's fantastic in it, even though you don't really see his face ever because he plays Cliff, the robot from Doom Patrol, and he does such a great job though as a voice actor. And I feel like if he ever wanted to not like act anymore, like not be on camera, he would make so much money as a voiceover artist, because that voice is so unmistakable, it's so recognizable that when you hear him talk, you're like, oh, that's Brendan Fraser. Okay, I got it. And you can immediately picture him. But you also got Diane Guerrero from Orange is the New Black. If you remember her character at the end of Orange is the New Black, she gets deported back to Colombia. She's in this as Crazy Jane, and she plays a couple different Jane characters. But she is amazing. She's very fantastic. And then some newcomers. But throughout this whole show, you really get sucked into this universe that the writers and directors are trying to create. And where I make fun of a lot of dialogue now, Doom Patrol does such a great job of writing funny. And it's the delivery as well from the actors and actresses, and it's the anti-hero without having to go as far as Deadpool does. And it's great, and it's funny, and it's entertaining, and it's heartfelt, and it really tugs on your heartstrings at the very end. So Doom Patrol, strong popcorn in 2. It's definitely going to be a popcorn in 3 for a lot of diehards.
Okay. I watched a movie called ISS, short for International Space Station. It was a movie I saw a preview for in the theater, but it seemed like it never actually came out in theater. Like maybe they pulled the plug.
I never even heard of it when you said it. I was like, I've never heard of that movie.
I saw the trailer and I was like, whoa, that looks really good. And I guess it was. I mean, I'm not going to say I guess it wasn't.
I guess it wasn't.
Because it wasn't. But my logic went, ooh, this movie must be. I knew going into it, knew it was probably going to be a little bit bad, because I was like, they must have pulled this from theaters like immediately. The plot is basically 2 Americans go up to the International Space Station, which is a satellite station thing in the space, where the Americans and the Russians share this space. And then there's our conflict with Russia, escalates to nuclear warfare, and the government contacts the Americans and the Russians, and they say, you need to take over the station at any cost. And so then tension ensues and craziness ensues. And it has that foreign bad guy that's in every movie playing the foreign bad guy.
Okay.
You'll know his face. You're like, yeah. There's that one guy that's in everything that just has doofus face. You're like, oh yeah, that's the doofus face guy. He's in this movie. That's kind of what he's known for. It has good tension. Doofus face, yeah. It has good tension. The visuals, some of the visuals are like terrifying and actually kind of good, but it has one of the worst CG scenes. Like this one singular scene somehow got by getting like polished up.
Like I definitely know all of these actors and actresses' faces, but I do not know them by name.
Yeah. Doofus face and foreign bad guy. Those are the 2.
I think Doofus face is Chris Messina. That's what I think you're talking about.
Yeah. Yep, that guy. Okay. The worst CG, it managed to sneak through some polishing or whatever. It's out of nowhere. You're just like, it completely, and it's at the end of the movie, and it just takes you completely out of what it could have possibly been doing well. It shatters it. It's a good plot. I think it's a good premise, but it wears out way too early into the movie. Like they kind of flesh that bit out, and then they start just reaching for all these different things to keep it going a little bit longer, and it just wasn't good. It's actually
a short movie, so the fact that it makes it feel like that is pretty bad.
Exactly. It's a 90-minute movie, and there's still so much just wasted scenes of just people just staring at each other and just views from space just in random top places where it's like you could be adding something to the movie here because it's so short. This was a popcorn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a popcorn. Well, Me Time with Mark Wahlberg and Kevin Hart. Also, popcorn. Lots of forced themes. Lots of Mark Wahlberg playing the same character over and over again. Then you've got Kevin Hart playing Kevin Hart. And it's, I mean, it's funny. I'd be lying to you if I said it wasn't funny. There are funny scenes. There are funny themes. All in all, it is a movie about Kevin Hart's character, who is kind of like the stay-at-home dad. His wife is the breadwinner, and he is the overzealous talent show dad, trying to get his kid to follow in his footsteps, doing too much, but his parents, his father and mother-in-law, don't think he does anything because he's the stay-at-home dad. And the generation they grew up in, that is not the role of the man in the family. So they look at their daughter as the breadwinner. We're wondering why she's even with him. And of course, there's the evil boss that's not quite evil. And this leads to so many different scenes where you're like, this is kind of dumb, but it's funny. Like, it obviously situationally that's funny, but it's also dumb. There's a lot of suspension of belief, right?
Yeah.
It's a popcorn. I think if you're high or drunk and you throw this on, you're going to laugh.
Yeah, I'd watch that movie. It was okay. The little Coachella in the desert scene.
Yes.
It's like the best sequence.
Yeah.
It's the best sequence of the whole movie with the cougar and all that.
The cougar is the best sequence, right?
Yeah.
Also, how are the back of his pants still white at the end of that? Like, that needs to be addressed.
Yeah. That's a good one. Yeah. So next I watched The Boys in the Boat.
Boys in the Boat.
I believe this was directed by George Clooney. George Clooney directed this. And you can see that. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know any other George Clooney directed movie, although I'm sure I've seen one.
Yeah,
but I think he directed Hacksaw Ridge.
He's directed a bunch, and now you said that, and my brain disappeared. Like, he's been nominated, multiple times.
It's a Great Depression.
He Syria as well, or?
Yeah, I don't know if I saw that one. I don't know.
Okay,
but it's Great Depression.
Is that what it's called?
Themed. It's the University of Washington during the Great Depression. They're trying to put together a rowing team, which is obviously like an Ivy League kind of sport. So they're competing against some big money schools. These are poor kids that are homeless, and they're just like, hey, if I compete on the rowing team, I make the team, I can have a place to live and some food.
Harvard and Yale.
Yeah, and they take over. They start killing it, winning competitions. They get to the Olympics, which happened to be the Olympics in Nazi Germany. So you do get some mentions of Jesse Owens. Actually, there is a scene where there's a dialogue with Jesse Owens that's really good. He kind of steals the whole movie. It's like the best part of the movie, the little couple scenes with him, because the boat captain guy's like, hey, man, you're Jesse Owens. Hey, man, why don't you go out there and show these Germans what for? And Jesse Owens goes, nah, man, not the Germans. The folks back home. It's like, yeah. Very good. Sometimes movies, you learn something. As the movie's kind of boring, it's about boats, you're like, eh. But, hey, if I didn't watch this movie about crew team, I guess is the term for it, which I was something, I also picked up. The guy that sits on the edge of the boat and kind of commands them like, this speed is called a coxswain, which is a fantastic title. And now we all know that is what that position is called. But it's funny how it worked back then, because they had this weird contraption where it's like this little duckbill thing that like attaches like a headgear.
Yeah.
And that's how they speak to them. And it's hilarious looking. I didn't like the main guy. I don't like when the main guy gets all whiny and self-loathing out of nowhere to build like drama. It's like, come on, bro, you're doing good. You're going to the Olympics. Like, be happy now. You made it. It's also very funny because there's a photo finish at the end of the movie, and they have to go into like a little black room in the middle of the water to develop the film to see who won. It's not like now. It's like, bam, it's on the Jumbotron. Photo finish. We all see who won. They're like all waiting. for him to develop this film, and it was pretty funny. I actually give this movie a popcorn and 2.
Popcorn and 2. So
It
I
was good.
watched.
Yeah,
It was good. It was
it was
good.
good. It was good. It had tension. It was exciting. Good sports movie.
What is it? Hulu?
No, Amazon Prime.
Amazon Prime. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I watched Jurassic Park Chaos Theory on Netflix, which is the continuation of the Camp Cretaceous, or I think they said that right?
Yeah.
And they're back in a new adventure series. The kids that you know, it sounds like they're voiced by the same actors and actresses that voiced the original characters.
Mm-hmm.
And I can see why they did a continuation. It's wildly popular on Netflix, and in this one, they're going for a different audience, right? Camp Cretaceous was geared towards a younger audience. I watched it because I like Jurassic Park, to be honest. I just like it. I think the animation is really good in it, and I think it's cool to see the different stories. The same reason I watch all the animated Star Wars features that they show, like Clone Wars and all that stuff. It's just fun to watch, and it's interesting to hear the lore from different perspectives broken down simple, stupid.
Mm-hmm.
So in this one, you get a different look or a different storyline of what happens when the dinosaurs make it to Earth. And it moves it forward, and they have a Department of Dinosaur Safety or Protection, Department of Protection of Dinosaurs, something like that. And of course it's corrupt, because you can't have this department and have it not be corrupt, right? And it's corrupt on both sides. You have people that are corrupt in this organization for the good, and you have people that are corrupt for the bad, and no one knows who's good and who's bad, and they keep it a mystery. They almost committed the mortal sin of killing the dog, which in this case is an ankylosaurus, but they don't, and they spin it in a very creative way. I will say this about this show: it pays homage to a lot of different movies, to include Jurassic Park 1, as the T-Rex comes out and has his moment in the very last episode, much like at the end of Jurassic Park 1, and he screams, and there's a banner in the background, and he attacks the velociraptors, paying homage to the original film. This is definitely going to get a season 2, and it's definitely a TV show that if you have, I would say, any kids anywhere from the age of 5 to maybe 13, it's the perfect show for you as an adult to sit down and watch with these kids, because you'll get into it too. Popcorn
Cool.
too.
Nice. So this movie I watched last night. This was the highlight of my week, honestly.
Okay.
Well, not like my whole week. The highlight of things I watched this week. It was called Hitman, and I'm not talking about the video game adaptation Hitman series. This is on Netflix. It is starring Glenn Powell, which is just a guy from things you might know. He's actually had a run. He was in that Sydney Sweeney movie. Top Gun. Yeah, he's on a bit of a role.
I reviewed the Sydney Sweeney movie. It was
You did.
Anyone But You, right?
Yeah. It's a guy-oriented rom-com. There's some hilarious scenes throughout this movie, like super laugh out loud funny. It's a complicated premise for me to like. It's a lot, but basically, he is an undercover hitman. He's an undercover cop pretending to be a hitman to get people arrested, and he starts to get way too into it. He starts to wear costumes tailored to the type of hitman that people want to see. So there's a scene where he's got this Patrick Bateman persona where he's like dressed like him and talks like him. There's another one where he dresses up like this scary kind of ambiguous Russian guy with like long black hair. And he's like, it's super funny sequences that they keep those going throughout the movie to keep you like give you a quick injection of humor throughout the movie.
Okay. Keep you interested.
Yeah. I didn't think that this guy had kind of that lead man, like he was a good actor, Glenn Powell, but I think that might be just how good of an actor he is, because
he's the new golly, why does his name just run away from me? Hangover.
Bradley Cooper.
Wedding Crashers. He's the new Bradley Cooper. That's Bradley who he is. He's the new Bradley Cooper.
Okay. But that's how good he is in this movie, is that because out of nowhere he like turns it up and you're like, whoa, this guy is kind of really, really good. Like he convinces you that he's so just not, he doesn't have that energy, and then he brings it and you're like, oh crap, this is a leading man right here. It's a great concept that they could have took so many different directions, and you're like, they chose rom-com. Like this could have been so many other different types of movies that were also really good. But it actually does rom-com pretty well. It takes a lot of tropes and it makes them feel fresh somehow.
Okay.
It could have went full on tacky cornball past the point of no return at many key points, but it doesn't take it too far. It really walks the line of where you're like you're out, but it pulls you back in, and it does it well. The dialogues, the exchanges are funny, they're intense. All the characters have good chemistry. I give this a popcorn and 2.
You know what they call those kind of movies, right?
Mm.
Rom-com.
Rom-com, yeah, good one. That was a good one. All
right. So that's good, man. That's awesome. I watched a little romantic comedy as well, and this is 40. Leslie Hamm, Paul Rudd. You know, it's a continuation of the Knocked Up series, the 40-year-old virgin, Knocked Up. This is 40. It's like their own little universe they created there. Even like, I know it's not a part of that universe, but even Funny People kind of falls into this genre of film, of comedy. And it hits a little bit closer to home the older you get. Now, I don't have children, but I would presume if I did, it would be a lot like what they go through. So Judd Apatow often does a great job of writing what he knows and his experiences. Same with his team, right? Rogan, Paul Rudd, Steve Carell, Leslie Hamm, like they all are very good at what they do. In fact, this is a shout out. We miss you, Leslie Hamm. Please come back to comedy. We miss you so much. And all we want you to do is get your French toast. But it is a great movie. I don't think it's the peak, right? It's probably the lesser of the films I mentioned. It's a popcorn and 1. But like I said, if you are approaching this age group, you can relate more and more to the subject material that they're utilizing here. And of course, you can never forget the hotel scene where they go on their own little holiday to escape the kids, and they get high together in the hotel room and order room service. And Paul Rudd is running around with a starfish, a dried out starfish in his pants. All right. And I think that was all for you, right? That's all you had?
Yeah. Besides our way too early preview.
We'll get that last. Hold on.
Right.
Let me rattle these off really quick. I got 2 more. All right, so I watched Scott Pilgrim versus the World. I gave this a pop 2. 22-year-old man dating a 17-year-old. Interesting start here, but it does take place in Canada, so they have their own laws, whatever they want to do. Chris Evans is probably my favorite part of the movie, even though he's in a very short scene. But he's hilarious, playing the dopey action star that's actually kind of smart, but is he kind of smart? And he's an excellent skateboarder, even though he's a big beefcake. It is a good movie. It is a good take your girlfriend out movie. Like if you want to go to the movies with your girlfriend, this was the movie to do it, because there's a little something for both of you in this film.
Rom-com?
Michael Cera, yeah, I guess another one. Michael Cera does great playing Scott Pilgrim, playing the bassist in the Battle of the Bands and his band, and his stalker girlfriend. All the themes here are fantastic. Even the 7 deadly ex-boyfriends. Or pardon me, 7 deadly exes. Let me correct myself. Wow, that was not very 2024 of me. 7 deadly exes, right? It doesn't matter what kind. There's just 7 of them.
Yeah.
But it was good. It was fun. I enjoyed it. Good soundtrack, just like Josh said. So that one gets a popcorn and 2. Last, I watched Eric, starring Benedict Cumberbatch on Netflix. 6 episodes, and it stars. Benedict Cumberbatch plays Vincent, a showrunner and creator of a puppet show, whose son is kidnapped, and he's basically like just a real dick. The character is the worst. He's an alcoholic. He's mean, verbally abusive, kind of scary, and he loses his son, and becomes like obsessed with finding his son, and whether it be the drugs or the alcohol that he's on, befriends his son's puppet. Imaginary, right? He creates his son's puppet in his head, who then becomes a reality throughout this, because Benedict Cumberbatch's character, Vincent, believes that if his son sees this character, he'll come home. It plays with way too many themes. And this is actually, oddly enough, this is a theme of today's films and TV shows. Stop doing, you don't have to include everything. Not everything needs to be mentioned. It's fine. Just, you can stick to one thing. Okay, it is totally okay. Just create a good show. Stop trying to. You're trying to get every audience, and you're losing them all because it's pathetic. And this got a popcorn one largely because of that. This is my note. Once again, a show trying so hard to be modern, ruining itself by forcing every single storyline you can into a single story. You've got the abusive, alcoholic, addicted father that came from an alcoholic, abusive father of his own who happens to be rich, but daddy never loved him. The adulterous wife, some homosexuality in the precinct of police that just happens to be the one minority that works in that police precinct. You have an 80s kidnapping, child molestation, homelessness. I don't know what they're missing here, but I'm pretty sure they got everything. Oh, wait, let's throw in corrupt cops. Oh, and AIDS, because it's the 80s. Every single thing you could think of. Yes, everything. In 6 episodes.
It's a limited series, right?
It's a limited series. And you just sit there like, it doesn't need this. It doesn't need this. This storyline's unnecessary. Who cares? Why we're getting way too far away from the actual subject matter. Oh, wait, now we're back to the subject matter. And it was just, stop trying to get me to care about every single issue facing the world and let me enjoy a show. Mm-hmm. Let me enjoy a show. Mm-hmm. So a popcorn one. Benedict did do a good job. I will say that. But now let's talk about The Acolyte.
Yeah. So this made a big splash. This was the biggest debut for Disney Plus on record. Went and bought some Disney stock. It's a little bit up right now.
They got review bombed, by the way.
Did it?
Yeah, it's back up. They cleaned it up.
It got hated on by, oh, this is woke culture. Yeah.
What was woke about it? That's one I don't get. That one I don't get. I didn't see them going for woke. But maybe because it's a female portraying a lead role.
It's a black girl. It's a black girl. Yeah.
we can't just enjoy the film for what it is or the show for what it is. We've got to pick and pull. But yeah, it did get review bombed. They did read that. But Rotten Tomatoes was able to clean up some of the review bombs and the AI bombs. And now I think it's at like a 93%.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know about if it's that good. But it was good. It's promising. The main character's name is OSHA. And we're not talking about the job site Fun Police. It's an odd name. They could have came up with something a little more original and that's immediately what I think of every single time I hear her name is OSHA. OSHA. The fugitive scene in it, the inescapable reference to the movie The Fugitive with Harrison Ford and Tommy Lee Jones. I didn't do it. I don't care. We all know. It's a very obvious reference to that. But I enjoyed it. It was a little corny, a little tacky at times, but I think it was fun. I can't wait to see where it goes. I hope it gets a little dark at some times because we are dealing with the perspective of the Sith, or are they the Sith at this period on the timeline, or are they the New Order, or are they the Empire? I don't know. I'm a little lost.
They don't exist yet.
None of it exists.
The Sith don't exist. The Jedi Order does.
To
our knowledge, the Sith are a myth.
Sith are a myth. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, the basically, remember, this is 100 years before Phantom Menace. So even in Phantom Menace, remember the Jedi Council says the Sith aren't real. The Sith are a myth.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, this has got to get a little dark, I hope, at some point. And I think
they've worked on it so far.
Yeah. I think it's going to take off. I think it's going to be good. So I don't think, are we going to review this right now? I don't know.
I think we can leave it at where it's at. Korean actor, fun fact, the Korean actor learned English for his role in this film. Oh. He was cast speaking only Korean, and he learned English to play the role he plays in this film of the Jedi Master. The trope is one that's often used, and we've seen it before. Twins, I was pulling and hoping for maybe more of a psychosis from the main character. We did not get that, and you learn fairly quickly that there is a twin trope at play here. I don't think I'm spoiling anything in saying that. However, we do have a superstar death fairly quickly in this series that will either make people go, ooh, that was good, I'm glad they did that, or go, I'm pissed off, I don't want to watch this anymore. Yeah. All right, so it's a summer. We've hit the summer. It is June. It is raining in Britain, which means it's totally summer. So we have to have a drunk classic that is a summer film. And I think we're going to take it way back to Weekend at Bernie's. We will be watching Weekend at Bernie's as our drunk classic this time around. So we'll see if Josh has ever seen it. It looks like you've seen it.
Oh yeah, of course.
Probably one of your mom's favorite movies, actually, now that I think about it.
1 and 2. It's like Home Alone 1 and 2. They go together, like, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
So we will be watching a summer film that probably not a lot of people that watch our show have seen yet. We're going to be watching Weekend at Bernie's as our drunk classic. And what is our butter on top this week, Jordan?
We're going animated Pixar. We are going with Inside Out Part 2.
Inside Out Part 2. Hey, Pixar, don't let us down, okay? Wish sucked. Like, Wish was bad. I'm sorry, everybody.
Okay. Sure. It was all right.
Get through the prism of a child. But Chris Pine, terrible. Please stop doing singing stuff. All right, Inside Out will be our butter on top. I'm excited about it. I'm going to watch both Inside Out 1 and I'm going to watch Inside Out 2 in theaters so I can, fully catch up. We will see you all next week. Josh will be back. As always, we will see you at the movies. You get the popcorn and we got the beer.